Good afternoon. So today I wanted to talk about a tree that does phenomenally well here in the Central Valley. It is practically just maintenance free. I mean, this tree is just underrated in my opinion, and driving back and forth throughout Central Valley, I do see quite a number of yards with this particular tree in it. But before I tell you what it is, though, you probably could already tell by the title of this show, but still, I wanted to kind of let you know what tropicals, because they're unlike deciduous, where majority of the time deciduous trees, they only fruit during the summer season. Tropicals can be completely opposite. So essentially, the strategy that I've got in my yard is I have trees basically practically fruiting year round. So for beginner, I wanted to show you a starfruit tree. So this particular starfruit tree, we actually, it really was just, I want to say it was just last month that we picked the last fruit. So starfruits will give you two sets of fruits, one for the summer, and in fact, right now we're approaching middle of May. If you notice, there's a number of flowers on this particular tree, and if you take a look closer, I don't know if you can see it from that particular angle, but these starfruits will effectively mature and ripen right around summer. And then what's going to happen is after the summer sets of fruits have been picked, they essentially bloom again and give me a new set of fruits, which essentially will then become ripened generally around between December and January. So yeah, I mean, soft fruits, they give you two sets of fruits a year. Um, Admittedly, most trees that I have in the yard are summer trees in the sense that they take the time growing, generally as the weather warms up in spring. And then generally, most of the time, the fruits will ripen between the months of July, lasting as far as December. Taiwanese guava, for example. I mean, the flowers haven't opened up yet, but yeah, these guys will ripen pretty late. You're talking in middle of summer. Yeah, same with the longans. It is really aromatic. But longans generally will give me fruits right around, I want to say September or so. That's when most of the fruits are ripened. There are some trees that, of course, will essentially fruit year round and essentially give you fruit year round. Like, papaya is a really good example. This guy probably can be picked. But yeah, I just want to leave it on the tree as long as I can just to see how it tastes. But yeah, papayas, I mean, they will, ripen on the tree, and it's actually a very small one here, and effectively give you fruit year round. In fact, these fruits were left over from winter. So actually, even this Inga, which, here, let me show you. Actually, I saw it the other day. It actually is flowering. This was the Inga that I planted it last, I want to say it was July of last year, but it started just spontaneously flowering this year. Yeah, crazy. This really is just 2 years old, but it's, as you can see, I would guess that to be at least about maybe 10 foot tall or so. But yeah, a tree that does phenomenally well in the Central Valley. I've as you can see, there's really no microclimate at all in this spot. It's just taking the climate without any issues. But there is one tree that is one of the earlier trees that will give you fruit, and generally right around this time, generally in the Central Valley, typically around the months of April and May, that's when this particular tree's fruit ripen. And that would be actually the Loquat, which I will take you to the back. So I'll sit back. So as the Jamun and Inga here, this is actually the more matured Inga, that's also known as the ice cream bean tree. As both of those trees, which are both about just 3 years old, as they both compete for the skylines. Yeah, both trees are approaching roughly about 18 feet tall now. Quite impressive trees. I mean, one of the fastest growing trees. So if you notice, most of the trees here, Alfonso mango, of course. I mean, these pea-sized mango fruits will generally ripen around between July to September, depending on how long I want to keep the fruits on the vine. Even the wax jambu here, I mean, the flowers haven't even opened up yet. I mean, if you've noticed it, it's there's a lot of them. But the fruits on the wax jambu tree generally open up right around July or so. The tree that I wanted to cover today is actually the Loquat here. So again, the Loquat is a tree that does really well here in our climate. The variety that I have, which I'm not certain what it is, I suspect it to be probably a big gem. But for the most part, these are self-pollinating with some assistance from bees. But yeah, this is what you are getting, I mean, right around this time of the year. The thing with the Loquats, just like majority of the trees here that you see, like even this black sapote here, is, I mean, good luck finding these fruits in your local supermarket. They don't ship well. I mean, in fact, if you look at this tree, I mean, this fruit, once it ripens, just like figs, you only have maybe a week before it starts shriveling up like this. So you've got to eat them really quick. I mean, again, they just don't ship well. So that's why it really is the only option if you want to try out a Loquat fruit is to just get your own. I mean, grow your own. So with Loquats, I mean, although they're, I mean, I wouldn't say they're technically tropicals, though they do really well in tropical climates. The thing with Loquats is they actually are very, very cold tolerant. You are talking, I mean, well, you're talking about 10 degrees. I mean, that's below freezing. In the Central Valley, the Loquats can actually appreciate some shade during the summertime, though in my situation, I've not had any issues with sun damage. I mean, this particular tree has been able to take the sun without any difficulties. For the first several years, maybe 1 to 3 years, not much happening. I mean, the tree grows maybe 6-7 feet tall at the most. But then after between year 3 and 4, I mean, it just explodes in growth. So generally what happens then is during its young years, it's mostly focused on root establishment. So after year 4, generally between year 3 and 4, when grown from seed, which this particular tree was grown from seed, that's what you're gonna get. And generally after year 4, it starts to just explode in fruits. So yeah, I mean, just unlike like an Etmoia here, which I do have to hand pollinate. The Loquat, perhaps one of the best tasting fruits, ripened ones anyway, required virtually no maintenance. I mean, this tree is basically just, it almost, I hate to say it, but it almost thrives on neglect. Yeah, I mean, it's unrelated, but I mean, I think we're going to get a pretty good harvest this year with the white sapote there. Another fruit that, in my opinion, is perhaps one of the best tasting. I mean, if you've not had a white sapote, get yourself one. So luckily, with the Loquat, you could actually find this tree easily in your big box store. I mean, I've seen Home Depot, Lowe's carry them. They're generally the big gem variety, which is probably the most common. And I mean, a Loquat's a Loquat. It tastes quite well. If you are in a cold climate, we're talking zone 8 or so, which these guys can technically live in, you're probably not going to get as much fruit as you see here. I mean, this guy likes warm weather if you want fruit production. So anyhow, yeah, I mean, Loquat is, again, driving up and down Central Valley, I've seen these trees, and they can get quite big. I mean, you're talking, I've seen them for as high as between 25 and 50 feet tall, just loaded with these orange fruits. So yeah, that's Loquat for you. Just another tree that, again, good luck finding the fruits in the store, just because they don't ship well. So just grow your own, and they, again, practically thrive on neglect. So anyhow, all right, have a good afternoon.